Thank you everyone so much for, spending your lunch hour or early morning with us. Want to be talking today about what has happened recently in Calgary, some of the market performance, what some of the interest rate drops might mean, and what Calgary looks like moving forward from here and what we're seeing. So both Nish and myself are with Remax Wealth Builders, which is the brokerage. We have helped over 1,000 people now from across Canada to invest in pre-construction properties in Calgary in less than 4 years. We've sold nearly $500 million worth of pre-construction real estate. So if you want to be working with a team that does this every single day, are experts in the field, we are very happy to help. But we also practice what we preach. Our team has personally bought and invested in over 20 units now in the Calgary area, buying pre-construction, doing exactly what we're telling our investors to do. And a little bit more about myself. My name is Kyle Dovigi. I'm a real estate broker. I am licensed in Ontario and Alberta to trade in real estate. I have been an investor for over a decade now, and I now have 7 properties. 2 of those are in Calgary. In a previous life, I managed Lotto 649 and Lotto Max, the national lottery draws. And my time there, I learned that about a third of Canadians were planning to fund their retirement by winning the lottery. I don't know if all of you know the statistics, but it is 1 in multi-millions for each of the draws. It's simply not going to happen. So now I help people invest in their real estate futures and to build wealth through real estate. And now, this is actually my portfolio because we are very transparent here. You can see I've been purchasing over the last 10 years. These are my current market values. But the thing that gets me really excited is in 30 years, all of these properties are going to be paid off because the tenant is paying off those mortgages. But at a very conservative rate of 3% price growth, I'm going to have a real estate portfolio worth over $10 million. And that's if I do nothing more. So gets me really excited, fired up to be talking about real estate and investing. Now I'd like you to meet my team member, Nish.
Hi, everyone. Nish here as well from Remax Wealth Builders. I am happy to share that I'm as well licensed in Alberta and in Ontario, and I am the proud investor of 9 properties overall, 2 of them in the Greater Toronto Area, which is where Kyle and I both live, and 7 of the most recent properties that were purchased for investment reasons were in Calgary, because there's really no other place to scale a portfolio so quickly other than a market like Calgary. I also have a resale business here in Toronto, and I've been fortunate enough working with a great group of team members and clients to be within the 1 percentile of realtors over the past 3 years. And this is out of 73,000 plus agents in the Toronto Real Estate Board. And in terms of my accolades when it comes to selling in Calgary, I think the numbers are, just closing up on 250 units over the last 3 years, unlike Kyle, 195, which is just last year alone, which is bananas. Prior to my time as a realtor, I worked in the entertainment industry, the family entertainment industry, that is, as a director of sales and operations. And just like how Kyle had some insights into people's futures working in the lottery industry, what I found and what I was really impacted by was how many people that work a regular 9-to-5 job, that have employers, how much they depend on things like the Canada Pension Plan or retirement plans that are also funded by their employers, and how quickly those things can disappear. If a company goes bankrupt or they shut down or you're terminated for whatever reason, there's a high likelihood like most of those things that you contributed to won't have the same impact when you need them to at time of retirement. And then looking at the Canada Pension Plan and old age security, man, the population right now, the amount of people that are contributing to those plans is shrinking, but the people that need financial help is increasing. So by the time, people like us, Kyle and I, that are in our 40s, we're ready to retire, we can't depend on those things. So this is why we look at real estate as a way to build our own pension fund. And what I was able to do starting in 2021 was I was able to take my existing portfolio and I quadrupled it. And just like Kyle did, this is my current portfolio. The first 2, as you can see, were, many years ago. And those two are in the Greater Toronto Area. And then the most recent 7 had been in Calgary. The 3 that are in, I guess, a more brightly colored beige, those are currently tenanted. There are people in there, except the Explorer, which I live in. That's my residential property. And I have another one closing at the end of August. And again, will be tenanted. They'll be paying down the mortgage, just like Kyle showed in his portfolio. Currently, the value is just over $5 million, pushing ahead 30 years. Once those properties have been paid out, just again, applying a very conservative 3% year-over-year growth, that portfolio will be worth just under $13 million.
Yeah, pretty amazing stuff. And we have both been investing in Calgary over other markets because that's where we see the significant potential. So why Calgary? Well, it is consistently rated as one of the most livable cities in Canada, but also in North America. And it's because, we have healthcare, culture, education, infrastructure, but also a very affordable lifestyle. And it's going to be continued to be rated as one of the top global cities as well. You have the Rocky Mountains just a short drive away, tons of green space, national parks, bike trails, and again, that low cost of living, which is proving to be very attractive. And it's not just me saying it's attractive. The proof is in the statistics. Look at this. This is the quarterly population growth since 1950. So over 70 years. And what has been fascinating is the last 5 years, every quarter, if it was looked in isolation, would have been the record for the most number of people ever moving to Alberta. You are seeing record population growth in the city that is continuing. And you might see on the very right side of the graph, oh, Kyle, it's dropping off. Okay, it was just under 50,000 people moving to the city last quarter. That would have been the highest of all time. So you're seeing huge numbers of people moving there. The 20-year average is just over 20,000 people per quarter. So you are a magnitude of 2.5 times greater than that. Now, where are all these people coming from? A huge source is international immigration, people from outside of Canada. About 70 to 80% nowadays are those sorts of international immigrants. Typically, they would have landed in the GTA in Vancouver, but they look around and they're like, look at the real estate prices. This is ridiculous. For $500,000, I can get a studio in Hamilton, sort of thing. Like, what am I doing here? I can't make ends meet. I can't build a life for myself here. So they don't have roots. They don't necessarily have family here yet. They can move around to the areas of opportunity. And that is what we're seeing happening in Alberta. About 10 years ago, you saw people leaving Alberta, moving to Toronto and the GTA for brighter futures. Now you're seeing that completely reversing because about 20 to 30% of the people moving to Alberta are moving from Ontario and the other provinces. So you're seeing record numbers of people moving back to the city for that for that strong economy, for a great cost of living. And Alberta population is set to increase by 48% by 2043. It's going to be larger than British Columbia. Whereas Ontario is going to be growing at about half of that rate, and maybe even slower now because these statistics are a little bit old now. So that gets me really excited, really bullish, because population growth is the biggest driver of demand of real estate. People need roofs over their heads. They need some place to live. So I think you're going to continue to see prices appreciating based on this huge factor of that population growth.
Yeah, and one of the things, Kyle, that I also want to add to what you said was, there's population growth, but then there's population growth with the right type of population that's going to impact the economy in a positive way. And the growth that we're seeing and the growth that Kyle was alluding to is a result of the job growth, right? And the last slide that Kyle showed, I don't know if it captured the last quarter of 2024. I think it might have just been the ending of 2023, Kyle. But if we're looking at the last quarter, Q1 of 2024, we're seeing record numbers of increases. We're looking at almost an increase of 50,000 people in Alberta over the last 3 months, January 1st to the end of May. So those numbers are staggering, and we're continuing to see that trend. And the note below that is this is happening even before the government of Alberta was offering that $5,000 bonus for people to move. And that's separate from any type of incentive of bonus that the employers are including. This is just the government that's saying, hey, come over here, we'll give you $5,000. So, and you can see that, they are outpacing pretty much all the other provinces. I didn't even want to show the rest of the provinces because the numbers were so dismal. But again, you're looking at the top 6, and as you can see, Alberta is leading the way percentage-wise. And then looking, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
You're seeing this starting to reflect in the prices. Well, not starting, because it has been happening now for a couple of years, where the benchmark price, which is the best way of measuring real estate prices because it's an apples to apples comparison. They're measuring that same benchmark or property type over time, because the average price, the median price, all that sort of stuff can be skewed depending on what's selling at that time. So the benchmark you are seeing across the board, according to the latest statistics that were just released August 1st by the Calgary Real Estate Board, across the board, the entire city of Calgary up nearly 8%. But you're looking, oh no, sales are going down. What's happening? Well, it's because prices and interest rates are starting to catch up to people. It is still one of the most affordable markets of any major city, but you're seeing prices continue to go up. So those lower priced properties that did a lot of churn, a lot of sales activity are getting harder and harder to find. So things are slowing down a little bit. And there's a few more listings coming up as well. So you're seeing inventory build up a little bit more. In most cases, about a month to a month and a half of inventory. That is still deep sellers territory. This is where you want to be if you're a real estate investor. The Toronto condo market right now is pushing over 7 months of inventory. So when you compare that, Calgary just has one of the best real estate markets across all of Canada right now. And months of supply, 1.75. That means that it would take just under 2 months to sell all of the units that are available on the market today. And days on market, just 24. That is blazing fast. That's a little bit over 3 weeks that the average property is selling in Calgary. Niesh, you want to talk a little bit about the property types and how each are performing?
Yeah, absolutely. So breaking down the individual types of property, across the board, we're seeing increases compared to last year, which was a hot year in terms of sales. We're seeing double-digit growth across pretty much every single category. The only one that we haven't gone over 10% is the single-family homes. We're at 9.93%, so I'm going to count that as a 10. Average prices are over $800,000 for single-family homes. You're looking at the next most affordable type of property, which is a semi-detached property or a half duplex, as you would call it in Alberta. And that's just under $690,000. That's 16% increase compared to last year. And then townhomes, just like the semi-detached option, is a very affordable price point for the space that you get. Also a 16% increase versus last year. And finally, going down to condos, which are at an all-time record in terms of their average price, being over $340,000. And that is an increase of 10.6%. Now, people are going to ask, hey, some of these numbers may not be as great as, what I see listings for, but you got to keep in mind, this is the overall average. So you're looking at properties that, aren't that great. You're looking at the pretty wide range of price points and spectrum, but the overall average is what we're kind of comparing to last year. And we're looking at the Calgary market for condos where, other than the ones that are just being completed or have been completed over the last couple of years, condos have been, average aged about 15 to 20 years, if not more. So these numbers rising is a really good indicator that this is also a product type that you want to keep your eye on, because this has a pretty significant ceiling still to hit, and you can still get in at a pretty decent price point. In many cases, the total price is less than the down payment that you have to put in some other major cities. So yeah, prices are continuing to go up. They're nowhere near the top, not near the bottom, but still very affordable and still a ton of opportunity to get in and still see some significant gains, both in appreciation, but also cash flow when we start looking at the rental side of things.
And again, these numbers do blend. They're an average, so they're looking at the entire area. Some areas of Calgary for condos, like the Northeast and East, they're more like 17, 18% return year over year. So if you're looking for those sweet spots, that's where we can come in and advise you, hey, this is where, prices haven't caught up, huge potential in these sorts of areas. So we're happy to have a call with anyone. You can book a call. Our information is sent out in the email as well. Very happy to chat with you. All of our calls are free, absolutely no obligation as well. So reach out.
Yeah, and we have a footprint as well in Calgary. We have team members there. So for those that are in the city or are looking to travel there, our partner Kripa is able to take you for a tour and show you in the different areas. As a team, we have invested in all four quadrants, and we have investments across all those different property types. So in terms of the product knowledge and being able to trust experts, we certainly have your back and can provide the support as you need.
Absolutely. And when you look at Calgary across the nation and compare it, like how is it performing? These stats are a little bit older, but Calgary, nearly 10% price growth compared to Toronto, which is negative. The other major cities growing maybe a tiny, tiny bit. So Calgary is booming right now. You're seeing huge numbers of people, huge numbers of money going to that province. You're also continuing to see the rents increasing. The average two-bedroom rent, about $2,100 a month. Compare that to Toronto, which is about $3,200 a month. Vancouver, $3,600 a month. Calgary is cheap when you look at it on a major basis. And that's why you're seeing rents continue to go up as well, that there's significant differences compared to other major cities. So prices, there's a very, very high ceiling still that can be achieved. Rents, still massive rents that they can go up because very, very affordable lifestyle in Calgary. People are making nearly the same, if not more, than in the other major cities as well that a lot of people forget about. So there's still significant potential for price increases and for rent increases. And why? Like, why is this economic activity happening? Well, Alberta, especially, is a very attractive place to set up a corporation. And it's because you have a very low corporate tax rate, one of the lowest in Canada. There's no provincial sales tax at all. People ask me, what's the HST? It's like, it doesn't exist. There's no provincial sales tax. It's just a 5% federal GST. There's no land transfer taxes on any of your purchases. There are no caps on development charges because there are no development charges by the city of Calgary or the province of Alberta. They're very pro-business in general, anti-tax, anti-government, limited red tape as well. So you're really seeing Calgary and Alberta flourishing because of this. And when I compare Calgary to other cities, Calgary is really like the Toronto of Alberta. You see a ton of businesses, tech, all of these industries growing, whereas, Edmonton often comes up. Edmonton is often more like Ottawa. It's quite government based and very blue collar because you have people actually working in the oil sands. Whereas Calgary, it's people working in the head offices of the oil sands. So very, very different. But gets me excited about Calgary because you have so many industries that are flourishing there. And it's not just oil and gas. Oil and gas is still important. It's a huge amount of revenue into the province, but you're seeing other industries grow, like aerospace. You have WestJet that made Calgary its international hub for all of its flights. Just a few years ago, they're investing billions into the city. You have De Havilland, which is moving the aircraft manufacturing plant from Downlands View in Toronto to just outside the east side of Calgary. Huge, huge investment there. You have Lockheed Martin in the city as well. So huge names in the aerospace industry, pumping billions of dollars into the province and into the economy.
I get to fly De Havilland at the end of the month for the very first time. I didn't realize that, the De Havilland a company that Kyle just mentioned, my understanding was they were just specializing in the water bombers, but now they've actually expanded into the commercial sector and I'm taking a connecting flight from Calgary to Portland at the end of the month. So it's
No
interesting.
way.
I didn't realize that was happening.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But people forget as well that the prairies are the breadbasket of Canada. Agribusiness, farming, this is huge industry out there. Cattle is a huge source of revenue for Alberta as well. You know, farms, you can drive 20 minutes from downtown Calgary and get to a real working farm. And you have big names in agribusiness like Cargill, Sofina, and you're seeing more and more of this happening, especially with green initiatives as well, whether that's biofuels and that sort of thing. So definitely not oil and gas anymore. You have creative industries popping up, like for movies, Ghostbusters, the new one partly was shot in Alberta. Interstellar, Cool Runnings, the old movie as well. The Revenant, The Last of Us, the hit TV show, parts of Game of Thrones was shot in Alberta as well. So Calgary is actually the fourth largest movie industry in Canada as well, which makes sense because it's the fourth largest city too. But you're seeing more and more of this happening, more incentives, more attraction to the TV and film industry. Plus, you're on the west side, so Hollywood, very easy flights, very similar time zones, very attractive to movie studios. Energy, always important. You're seeing businesses like Suncor and Bridge, continue to pump the gas that's in the ground, the oil there, but they're also moving into clean tech, clean industries. They're applying the technology that they've used for oil and gas and say for pipelines, not necessarily to pump oil anymore, but to pump hydrogen, other fuels, other things as well. They're adapting many of those industries into new initiatives, new technologies that's moving away from oil and gas, but still within energy. And then life sciences. There's over 110 companies in Calgary focused on life sciences and health. That's a huge number of companies, huge number of employees in the city that's completely outside of the oil and gas industry. But what really gets me excited is technology, because AI is the hottest thing right now. You're seeing NVIDIA, the most valuable company in the world. And this is going to become more and more important as we go in time. And there are over 700 tech companies in Calgary now. And what gets me excited is it's not just the big names. These are a lot of small companies as well, because there are tech accelerator funds. There's a lot of money being offered by governments and industries, incubators as well, to try and fund the next technology. You're really creating an innovation ecosystem in Calgary, which really starts to snowball, because when a founder, hits it big, they become $1 billion unicorn, something like Benevity, companies like that, they tend to invest back into other industries. Their friends might have companies that they're going to fund. Look at Elon Musk. He didn't start with Tesla. Started with PayPal, and now he's got several other companies that he started as well. And I'm sure he's funding other initiatives too. So technology is the future of the world. And as I see the future of Calgary as well, and it's going all in full steam on it.
So as we talked about, Calgary and Alberta, they're not just about oil. And when we started to promote buying properties in Calgary and even start to invest ourselves in that market, the energy sector was probably at an all-time low. But we also knew that there was going to be a short period of time where you can get in at the bottom of the market, because things are going to start to change. What we start to see was these other industries take over, like the ones that Kyle alluded to, the high-tech sector, financial services, and all these other types of industries kind of took off because there was ability for these types of companies to secure very, very attractive leases through vacancies that were, a cause of what happened in the oil and gas sector. Now, fast forward 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. This past year, May of 2024, as you can see, the Trans Mountain Pipeline wrapped up. It's complete. And now it's starting to work at its capacity. And what that means is, prior to this pipeline being completed, we were only able to transport 300,000 barrels of oil from Alberta to the ports in Burnaby in BC. As a result of this expansion project, we have now tripled our capacity. So that's over or just under 900,000 barrels per day. Like I can't even fathom, what that looks like over the course of a year, but it's a whole lot of oil that we're able to get across to the areas that we need the oil to get to. And how this impacts the economy when we're looking at, the increase in supply is that we no longer need to discount our oil. The increase in supply allows us to compete on a global scale. We have more people that will buy our oil. And if you come to think about it, Canada is the only country in the top 5 countries in the world that have the types of oil reserves that we have. That is a democratic government. All these other places, I mean, you can go and do your own research. You'll be able to find that, the political situation is nowhere near stable. So there is a level of security and confidence for people to buy Canadian oil because they know that they're not going to get shut out and now have to scramble to get more oil. So that allows us, again, to market our oil and price our oil at market rates and be way more competitive. So that's one element. Now you're also looking at a decrease in the cost of transporting the oil because we no longer have to only rely on a small amount getting to a certain area and then having to ship the rest either by truck or by rail. We can now transport the majority of our oil through those pipelines, so that eliminates a ton of our transportation costs. So coupled with the ability for us to price accordingly and minimize the cost to do so, that creates a significant surplus, which us as Canadians, we all get to enjoy. And Alberta, being where the oil is originating from, also gets to enjoy the fruits of that labor because, they're going to be the ones that will benefit the most, both from just the cost savings and the revenue, but also from the ability to impact its economy through additional job growth. So the next slide over, we can see exactly how that impacts Albertans. The project alone has created over 5,500 new jobs. That's directly related to the pipeline expansion. And then as we looked at in the previous slides, all the supporting industries, financial services, high tech, logistics, transportation, all those jobs, industries are also going to see growth because you're going to need more people. You're going to need to hire educated people, pay them well to ensure that this type of increase in supply is going to be sustainable to transport over, because you just don't want to produce it all and not have the supporting industries to make sure that things run well. You need to hire people to do that, and these people are being paid well. Now, how that trickles down into pretty much the first half of our presentation, why we're so bullish in Calgary, is because when there's a growth in population, and the growth in population is due to the high-paying jobs that are opening up, and people are coming into the city, both from other provinces, but also internationally, there is going to be a demand on the housing market. And what this means is house prices are going to rise. They're going to continue to go up, just like we looked at when we saw the different property types and looked at, how well they were performing year over year. Property values are going to go up. If you're a landlord, you're able to increase your rent because there's going to be high demand for your units and tenants are willing to pay more, but they also make more money. So in terms of the formula to have a investment that is going to be sustainable, that's going to pay you out what you need to pay out, but also over the long term, being able to have an investment that's going to appreciate, all the variables here are in place, and they have been in place for the last 3 years, and it's going to continue to produce very similar types of results. And this is why we continuously talk about Alberta, and also why we are investing ourselves, because we've done the math. The algebra, the calculus, or whatever anecdote you want to use, it works. And this is why we're seeing great results in our investments so far.
So how can you take advantage of this? Well, there's new and exciting projects coming up that we think are going to be fantastic investments, buying and holding over the long term. And some of these projects you can buy with as little as 5% down until closing. Some of these closing range from 2025 for the houses and some of the townhomes, way out to 2028 for the condo projects. So no matter what you're looking for, no matter what your investment objectives are, we definitely have a pre-construction property that would fit. Now, not all are made equal. So reach out to us, book a call, because we can help find the best one for what you are looking to do. So some of the freehold homes, starting from the 500,000s, some of these you can add legal basement units to them, and they're going to make them cash flow like crazy, especially the ones in Rangeview. You can get about 3,700 to 3,800 a month in rent for that sort of house. And that means it's going to be cash flow positive, several $100s a month at very reasonable interest rates, say 4.5%, which I think is going to be very achievable by the middle part of next year. I just renewed one of my mortgages, 2-year fixed. I got 4.98. So we are getting in that range where interest rates are continuing to come down. And that's the nice part about Calgary is with just very, very small interest rate decreases, properties are going to be cash flow positive. Unlike trying to invest in the GTA, they're still going to be negative $1,000 a month for anything you're buying pre-construction.
So, and Kyle, what I'm seeing here is those duplexes that are starting at $600,000, that's, from what I remember, $70,000 to $80,000 less expensive than its resale counterpart. And these are going to be ready next year. Those duplexes are probably going to be
normally see is when the pre-construction properties are selling close to resale, because normally there's always a premium for pre-construction because it's brand new. It always costs more to build. So this is one of those weird situations where it's not. So, over the long term, I see these freehold homes doing really well, appreciating well. They're fantastic for investors, but also for people that want to live in the house as well, because you can rent out the basement and have the tenant paying for over half of your mortgage. That is an amazing situation.
One of our team members, part of our Wealth Builder team, Jeffrey, he purchased one of these Rangeview duplexes back in June. So yeah, we talked a little bit about the math, and it made sense, and he secured one. So again, we're putting our money where our mouth is in these situations.
Exactly. So why don't you talk about the condos available, Niesh?
Yeah, absolutely. So we still have options for 5% down on condos. And want to clarify, 5% goes to the developer. For investment properties, if you are going to be buying it to use it as an investment, at time of closing, you will need to have a total of 20% down. So you still need to come up with the other 15%. But in terms of your initial capital, putting 5% down, that makes the math so much easier for people right now. So definitely keep in mind that your obligations for 20% will be there if you are using it as a revenue generating property. We have two options where you can go with 5% down. We have Violet Condos, which is in the southeast. It's a suburb called Yorkville, also a master plan community. You have all the necessities and amenities already in place. So once your property is ready, everything will already be there. So you're not going to be in the middle of the field waiting years for things to develop. And then Clover Condos, which is in the northwest, in the community of Carrington, which is also a well-established community. We have Clover going up there in 2027, and Violet will be in 2028. There are date ranges, so certainly talk to us if you have specific questions about closing dates. All our condos come with a phenomenal incentive package. So if you want to be hands-free and just let your investment ride for a couple of years after you take possession, you automatically get what's called a rental guarantee, where the developer leases a unit back from you and pays you a set amount over 2 years. They will also manage the property on your behalf. And we also have other phenomenal incentives like free parking and locker, depending on the project. So speaking with one of us, we can outline those details, but by no means are you restricted to these rental guarantees. You can opt out right at the beginning and certainly rent it out yourself without incurring any costs. So we can, again, talk to you about those options. This is very much a entry-level investment opportunity where you don't need to come up with a ton of money. And if you don't want to have anything to do with it, they'll take care of it. But if you do want to be more hands-on, we can help support that as well, both through helping you find a tenant and getting you set up with a property management company. And then we have other options like the ones that are in the downtown core Lincoln condos, probably one of the crown jewels of our partner Truman Homes, their project. It's smack dab in what you call the Beltline, and it's really where you're within walking distance of everything. You don't even need a vehicle, even though parking is free with most incentive packages. It's a prime location both for rental income, but also short-term rentals. If that's a route that you want to take, we can help support you in that way. These condos are priced slightly higher because it's a premium, a luxury condo, starting in the $450,000 range for one-bedroom units. And then we also have options in East Calgary, in Princeton, Arabella Townhomes, $520,000. Man, I don't ever remember a time where townhomes in Toronto were that price. I really don't. And these are 4-bedroom townhomes with 2.5 bathrooms, a 2-car side-by-side garage. You have a huge patio, over 200 square feet that you can barbecue off of. And that's actually true with any condo. You can barbecue on your balcony. There's no restrictions as long as you have a balcony. And these properties the condos close in 2027, 2028. The Arabella townhomes will be closing late 2025, leading into 2026. Also, phenomenal incentive packages, rental guarantees, free property management, no condo fees with some options. So certainly reach out to us and we can break each project down based on your goals and needs.
Absolutely. And we do have some just outside of Calgary as well. Chestermere is community just on the eastern edge of the city. Driving, it's actually closer to downtown than many of the projects in Calgary as well. I am very bullish on Chestermere. You're seeing huge development happening there. And here is where we can get you freehold townhomes, semi-detached properties, detached properties at the best possible rates available in Calgary and the surrounding area. So if you're interested in a freehold house, definitely worth taking a look at. You're going to be in the 500s to start for all of those properties, but then you don't have any condo fees. Very strong rents in the area as well. So really good options for those looking for a house or a townhome too. So with that, if you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A. We'll spend some time here answering any questions that we have.
And it could be about properties. It could be about the economical components that we discussed. Any personal questions you have about properties that we invested in, we're an open book. We still have a few more minutes, so would love to answer your questions and address any concerns if you have any, which I hope you don't.
It doesn't look like any are coming in.
Are we that thorough?
So with the, yeah, we're that thorough. We nailed it. So with
or
that,
the chat feature's not working.
Yeah, possibly. I wanted to thank everyone for spending time with us today. Really appreciate it. Hope you learned something. If you did want to have a one-on-one call, our information will be sent out in the email with a recording of the video as well. Please book a call. Absolutely no obligation. Everything is free for you as well. And we just want to help you build wealth through real estate. Did get one comment. Seems like a lot of investors moving from Calgary to Edmonton. Is that true? I definitely wouldn't say that is true. Calgary is still definitely the most popular investment destination, but it is getting expensive for some people. I can't get you condos now anymore at 199 or in the 200s sort of thing, like Edmonton has available. But when we look at everything that's happening in Calgary, I am much, much more bullish in Calgary overall. You're seeing the property prices appreciate about double that of Edmonton. And the rents as well. There's many more people moving to Calgary, but Edmonton is starting to get some of the trickle effect where people are getting priced out of the Calgary market now and looking for other areas of opportunity. So I wouldn't say a lot of investors, it's happening a little bit, but I personally am much more bullish on Calgary overall at this point. Niesh,
Yeah, because I remember the properties even 3-4 years ago in Edmonton were the same price. So you may be able to cash flow a little bit because the prices are lower. But if you look at long-term growth and appreciation. Edmonton certainly has a much lower ceiling, and you won't see the same type of growth for the reasons we talked about in terms of industry and population growth. Edmonton will not see that same level of growth. I think Calgary is almost 50 times larger in population, from difference being 1.1 million to about 1.67 million in Calgary. And that, they were very close at one point, but you saw the growth. And I don't see the same level of growth happening in Edmonton. So long term, we haven't invested there, if that makes any sense. And
you're not seeing any of the investments that the incentives in Calgary that you are, sorry, you're not seeing any incentives in Edmonton like you are in Calgary. The latest closings, are kind of like a year away. You're not getting a 2027, 28 like in Calgary. There's no rental guarantees being offered in Edmonton like there is in Calgary. So it's a much different pre-construction environment than Calgary as well. Any other questions? All right, doesn't look like it. Then thanks again, everyone. A recording of the video will be sent out following this call as well with our contact information. Please book a call. We would love to chat. Niesh, any final comments?
No, I appreciate everyone for taking the time to jump on this webinar, and certainly reach out to us. Maybe, Kyle, you want to throw in that last slide. So if they want to take our contact information down, they can. They'll have a few seconds to write it down. Maybe not. Either way, it doesn't matter. You can reach out to us. It's gone. They're done. It's okay. Well, my email's there.
Nice.
No, that's it. I appreciate everyone for their time, and we're here to help educate and support your questions. There's no push on buying anything. Our goal is simply to let people know why we invested and the variables that we put into our calculations before making investments. And hopefully we've done that today.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
All right, then. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Take care.